In this video, I'm going to show you how to plan your whole Camino. So whether you're leaving in 6 months or 6 weeks, this video will help save you time, money, and hopefully a few blisters. So let's get into it. The first thing you need to do before you even pick up a backpack is to ask yourself this important question. How many days do you have to walk your Camino? There are lots of different Camino routes, some which take a couple of weeks, others which take over a month to walk. So let's look at some of the more popular routes and the amount of days it will take you to walk them. The Camino Frances is 800 kilometers long and will take you on average around 5 to 6 weeks of walking. Sarria to Santiago, the last section of the Camino Frances, is 115 kilometers long and can be walked in around 5 to 6 days. The Camino Portuguese from Porto is around 270 kilometers long and will take you roughly 2 weeks of walking to get to Santiago de Compostela. Tui to Santiago on the Camino Portuguese is around 118 kilometers long, which can be walked in around 6 days. If you only have a week or two's leave, you can walk stages of the longer Camino routes. You're not bound by these shorter routes if you don't want to be. Once you've worked out how many days you need, the next topic is just as important because it can impact how easy it is to find a bed for the night. The time of year when you decide to walk your Camino can, well, be very important. Not just because of the weather, but also because of the amount of people walking the Camino and the availability of accommodation. Walking in winter is a much quieter time of year, with a lot less people walking. Accommodation options can be limited, and cafes along the more popular routes will likely be closed. But with a bit of planning, you can still have a great experience. This is a very busy time of year to walk. April-May on, say, the Camino Frances is peak season, with shortage of beds from St. John to Pamplona at the start often reported. People are attracted to this time of year due to it being cooler than the summer months. I would see this busy period almost like the start of the Camino season. There are less people walking during this season than spring, so beds can be easier to come by. But be warned, it can get very, very hot. But the good news is your clothes will dry a lot quicker. The start of autumn on the Camino Frances and Portuguese gets very busy again as the temperatures cool down from the highs of summer. When deciding what season to walk, you need to ask yourself these questions. How do you get on in the heat? If you don't like it, maybe the summer months aren't for you. And conversely, how do you get on in the cold, in the wind and the rain? If you don't like it, maybe don't walk in the winter. Do you prefer to walk with lots of other pilgrims around you? If so, spring or autumn are really good times for that. Alternatively, do you prefer to walk more in solitude? So maybe the winter would be a better period for you. Now, there's one Camino challenge that doesn't show up on your packing list, and it can impact every day that you walk. From your early morning café con leche to your bed at night, every decision on Camino comes at a cost. Don't worry, you don't need to be rich to walk the Camino, far from it. But knowing what to budget for can really help take away the stress from planning your Camino. Let's see roughly how much each day on the Camino will cost you. A bed for the night in a municipal albergue costs between 10 to 15 euro. So for this calculation, let's say 15 euros. More if you stay in a private albergue. Breakfast from a cafe, coffee would be 1 to 2 euros and a pastry 2 to 3 euros. So to be safe, let's budget for 5 euros. Lunch from a cafe. Sandwich, also known as a bocadillo, and a drink will cost you around 8 to 10 euros. So let's say 10 euros. If you get your lunch from a supermarket, that cost will go down to 5 to 6 euros. A 3-course pilgrim menu will usually cost you around 13 to 15 euros and comes with a drink. Other menu options will cost more. So let's add 15 euros to our daily total. A small barrel wine will cost you 2 to 3 euros. So let's conservatively say 2 a day. So that's 6 euros to our total. Now for laundry. Hand washing your clothes is free, but a washing machine is anywhere between 3 to 5 euros. So let's add 5 euros a day. So using the top prices of each item, your daily total would be 56 euros a day. But if you hand washed your clothes and ate your lunch from a supermarket, your total would be 47 euros a day. Obviously, this is a rough figure to help you budget, not the exact amount. So a 12-day walk on, say, the Camino Portuguese would cost you roughly 672 euro, or 564 euros when hand washing and buying your lunch from a supermarket. If you plan on staying in hotels, prices range from around 35 to 40 euros upwards for a room, so budget accordingly. Now, ask 99% of people walking the Camino what they wish they'd done more of before they got there, and I bet you they'll say, a bit of simple training before you go on your Camino can make it a lot less painful. And you do not need an expensive gym membership or some fancy equipment. So let's break it down. Questions to ask yourself. Step 1. How fit are you? Do you walk or run much in your day-to-day life? If the answer is no, that's okay. This isn't about shaming anyone. The Camino is open to all levels of fitness. But I strongly recommend you get some walks in before you go. Trust me, day 1 on the Camino Frances is no joke. Step 2. How much time do you have before your trip? Weeks? Months? Years? This will determine how much training you can do. If you've only got a few weeks, just get used to walking with your pack on your back so it's not a shock on day 1 of your Camino. Got months before you fly? Perfect. Start by walking with no backpack. Slowly build up your distances over time, then add a backpack with some weight in it. This is about slowly increasing the effort required at a pace that is comfortable for you. Now this one is often missed, but it is so important. Walk in the gear you'll be taking with you and wearing on your Camino. You do not want any nasty surprises, so test before you go. Is anything rubbing or is it uncomfortable? If it is, fix it or replace it before you go on Camino. Next, we need to talk about where you sleep when you're on Camino, because, well, it's probably not what you're used to. There are lots of different types of accommodation on Camino, so let's break them down for you. The most famous type of accommodation on the Camino is the albergue. This is essentially a hostel with dormitories for people to sleep in. To be able to stay in an albergue, you will generally need a Pilgrim Passport. This proves you're a pilgrim walking the Camino de Santiago. On arrival, they'll stamp it and then give you your bed for the night. Pilgrim Passports can be picked up at the start of a lot of the Caminos or ordered online. I'll pop a link in the description. Main types of albergues. Municipal or junta albergues. These are run by local municipalities and can be basic but very affordable at around 10 to 15 euros a night. They can't be booked in advance. They're first come, first served, and most of them do not accept luggage deliveries. Donativa albergues are usually smaller and privately run, and these are some of my most favourite albergues. They have so much character. There is no set price, you simply pay a donation for your night's stay, but remember, they are not free. Private albergues, which often have more modern facilities, but I find they can sometimes lack that special Camino atmosphere and camaraderie. There are also pensiones, which are a bit like guest houses or bed and breakfasts. And if you fancy treating yourself and pretending you're a king or queen, there are paradors, which are high-end hotels built in old Spanish buildings. Now we need to talk about a subject that causes a lot of stress for first-time pilgrims. Yep, gear and packing. Now, this is a subject that people can get very passionate about online, but essentially, you do not need to take a lot of stuff on Camino. you can get by with 2 outfits, one for walking in and one for relaxing in after you've finished walking. So in this next section, I'm going to break down the main things you need to think about when packing for the Camino. There's a saying on Camino, don't pack your fears. And what that means is only pack what you need. Don't pack extras. An extra pair of socks, another pair of trainers just in case, maybe one more long sleeve top. And before you know it, your pack is stuffed full and weighs an absolute ton. And a heavy backpack leads to injuries. Don't. The majority of albergues do not provide bedding, only a disposable mattress cover and a pillowcase. You will need to take something to sleep in. If you're walking in the winter or early spring, take a sleeping bag. Late spring into summer, it's going to be warm enough, so take a sleeping bag liner. If you're staying in an albergue, take earplugs. Trust me on this one. Flip-flops are a must on Camino. They let your feet breathe after a long day's walking and can also be used in the communal showers. Try to keep your backpack weight down. Trust me, your back and your knees will thank you for it. If you want a more detailed packing video, I've made a couple and I'll put the descriptions down below. Now, the next section is something that honestly I struggled with on my first solo Caminos, and I'd like to use my experience to help you. For some, and I include myself when I first started, walking the Camino solo can be quite scary. So I want to use the next section to reassure you and help you face any Camino fears you may have. The Camino is the best place for solo travellers. So many people start the Camino on their own and finish with lifelong friendships. People are so friendly on the Camino. It's very easy to meet people and form strong bonds. Albergues and communal meals are wonderful places for meeting new people. Don't worry, you won't have to eat on your own if you don't want to. Even on the busiest Caminos, there is time for solitude and reflection, if that's what you want. Sharing a room with lots of strangers can be daunting, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Remember, there are lots of different types of accommodation options on Camino. Do not let anyone tell you how you should walk your Camino. It's your Camino, so if you want to send your luggage on or stay in a hotel, that's perfectly fine. You're still a pilgrim. And remember, lots of people get nervous before they go on Camino. I still do. Rest assured, as soon as you start walking, those nerves will start to disappear with every step you take on Camino. How are you feeling? Oh. Now, all that's left for you to do is tell your boss or your family you're off on Camino and follow the steps I've outlined in this video. But before you go, I really recommend giving this video a watch. It's day 1 of the Camino Frances, and it can show you what to expect on that big first day. Buen Camino.